5 years ago today, I changed my name by deed poll. And it's not the first time I changed my name. It was the 4th time my name changed. But this time, I changed my name and I chose it. So I was put up for adoption before I was born. So when I was born, I was called one thing, and then I spent my first 6 weeks of my life in the care system in foster care. When I was adopted in 1982, my name was changed for the first time by my parents. Then later on, I was married and I changed it again. And I chose 5 years ago to change my name to Catrice. This was my choice because, if I'm honest, I didn't really know what my identity was, who I was, and I was definitely not happy with who I was. If you're anything like me and you were brought up by people that don't look like you, I am adopted. I'm transracially adopted, so my parents didn't look like me. They're both British white. I had a really good childhood, but because I didn't look like them, I didn't really know my cultural identity until I really stepped into it, learnt it as an adult and changed my name. That threw up some problems. So maybe you grew up not looking like the people that you were brought up with. Maybe people in your family didn't look like you. Although at the time when I changed my name, it felt like a bit of a rejection to start with from my mum, and she didn't get it. And maybe not everyone will do, because she was like, I gave you that name, and she was proud of it. And it wasn't a rejection on who I was. It was just me stepping in to who I became. Throughout my life and throughout your life, you're going to be changing and making your life different if you choose. And me choosing to change my name because I was stepping into my identity of who I am now, that is what became my new identity. If you think about it, you're never going to be the same person you were yesterday or the day before. You're always going to be changing. However, this is sometimes easier for some people than others. When I was growing up as a girl, I definitely did not feel myself. I didn't have any confidence. I felt like I didn't have a voice. That was mainly because the people that I lived with, the people that I saw every day, didn't look like me. I wasn't happy or proud with my skin colour, but mainly my hair. I hated how it didn't grow long and it was always really short and grew out and not down. But now I love my hair. I love it natural. I love the fact that I can do lots of different styles that represents my identity and my cultural background. So by changing my name, I wasn't rejecting society. I was stepping into my own story. Dr. Thema Bryant calls it homecoming. It's recognizing your authentic entire self after trauma. I'm a secondary school teacher, and when I was doing safeguarding training once, we had some training on adverse childhood experiences and trauma. And I asked the person who was delivering the training, is adoption classed as adverse childhood experience? And she said yes. And that hit home. That was way before I stepped into my identity and changed my name. Emily McDonald, the neuroscientist, says choosing your identity is when your brain stops using the past to predict the future. You can design and change up your future. You don't have to act and be the same as you were yesterday, and you have always been. You can start to change. If you'd have met me when I was in primary school, when I was a little girl, there's no way you would have thought that I would be able to speak on stages, speak on TV, inspire people, teach people, and run 3 businesses. It's only now, in the past few years, since my identity change, since I have chosen to become this identity, I've chosen to tell my story of being adopted, of being transracially adopted, stepping into my new identity, my power and who I am, and being proud and unapologetic. Not because I want you to feel sorry for me, but because I feel that I went through these things for a reason. I went through these adverse childhood experiences because I was powerful enough to tell my story, to inspire other people that might have also grown up with people that didn't look like them, might have also decided to change their name. Maybe their parents, maybe their family, their culture and community don't understand them when they decide to dress differently. Well, stand in your power, because if I can, then you can. So many people never choose to be themselves, never choose to follow their dreams, find their birth family, or even figure out whether they want to change their name. Do you feel like the name you were given? And a lot of people are living their lives for someone else, for their family, or to make someone else happy. And life is too short to do that. I would love to inspire you by my story to live your truth and live and grow into your name, your identity, for whoever you feel like you want to be your best self. There was a study done with kittens. Now you might find, or you might say it's cruel, but there were kittens that were brought up from birth in the dark, and they were put into 2 different rooms. Half the kittens were put into rooms where they could only see horizontal lines, and the other half of the kittens, while their visual perception was forming and their eyesight, were put into a room with vertical lines, or horizontal, whichever the opposite is of the other group. I can't remember what I said. And then eventually they were, when their sight had fully developed, they were put into a normal environment. But guess what? The kittens that had only been able to prime their brains to see horizontal lines kept walking into table legs, kept walking into vertical things. And the other way around. The kittens that were brought up in an environment to only see vertical lines couldn't jump onto tables, couldn't see the horizontal lines because their brain wasn't primed to see it. And this can be what can happen to you. You can spend your whole life missing things that might enhance your life, might help you to be the best person you can be, because your brain is not primed to see it. So it's about you choosing what you want to see, choosing who you want to be, and stepping into the identity and the person you want to be, and being your best self. And the main thing is, it's about believing what is possible for yourself. No matter what anybody else thinks what is possible for you. Les Brown, who's a mentor of mine, who's also dyslexic and adopted like me, he says you shouldn't let anybody else tell you what you should do or what you can do and what you're capable of. You decide that of yourself. Now, don't just think that just because you're put into a room with only vertical lines that you can only stay within the lines. If you take anything from today, I want you to be inspired by thinking out the box, drawing outside the lines, and not just what society and people think you should be and the box they think you should be in. Become yourself, your true identity, step into your power, and be who you want to be. If you would like me to speak at your event, inspire your audiences to be their best self, then book me to speak. CatriceRodriguez.com